one of the things to look out for, which is going to be coming next year, is a kind of public engagement training strand, which does cover some of that kind of reaching out. One of the things you could look at if you were interested is, we ran a previous version of this called Becoming a Public Intellectual, which we spent the whole course going, is there a better way of saying that? Because that sounds terrible, but we couldn't come up with one. And you might want to look, there's a really interesting presentation on that website by a guy called Brett Mills, who's at UEA, who he kind of started off his presentation by going, you will have encountered me in the press as the gay penguin guy. Because I don't know if you remember a few years ago, there's a big furore about, someone said, well, why don't wildlife documentaries ever feature any same-sex animal sex, which does apparently occur, and he was the guy who said it. And the storm which kind of this precipitated, he talks very wryly about how he dealt with it. So it's kind of interesting reflection. But certainly we'll kind of come back to you again on some of your more specific points. But anyone want to jump in?
I'd like to respond to the previous one, because I would be really interested in a day's symposium on higher education, research funding and activism. Because it's so problematic, isn't it, to put those three terms together, to examine what the tensions are between them. I think, you presented it very modestly as something that failed, but it did indeed fail productively, I think, and very interestingly. Because I think that's really relevant to our work, and especially to the CHASE agenda, or the AHRC's agenda, which is, frankly, that we instrumentalize our research all the time, and that it's put to use somewhere. And some of that can be positive, but some of that can also be suspect, in my view, in a kind of neoliberal environment that we're also operating in at the same time. So I would think that really goes to the heart of some of the contradictions that we're inevitably working within. And how can we make that work for us, I suppose, and retain the critical function that we're also supposed to have as intellectuals.